Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome.
Three dots, upper right corner of her square.
Hi, everybody. Lovely to see some familiar faces and some new faces. You're in the right place. Thank you all for being so adaptable, as there's so many of us that we moved to a new Zoom link and you all made it. I'm very proud of you. I'm going to ask you to open up your chat box and please share some of this in your chat box. Your name, location, your geography, and your beverage of choice. What are you drinking right now? If you could add that to the chat, we'd love to see it. Water, Tony, that's always the best. I have that too. That's always an option, right? We always have one, at least one. Hi, PK Biville. Good to have you here, everybody.
There's a
Yes,
wide range of
water.
drinks.
Yes. Iced coffee. I wonder what time zone. I didn't see it go so quickly, what time zone the iced coffee was.
As someone who still has things to get done.
Yes. Hot tea, LaCroix, black coffee. Not a lot of beer drinkers, but that's okay because that's why we say beverage of choice. Hi, Donna. That's why we say beverage of choice. Thank you. We're going to just go a few more minutes, look at from where everybody's from.
It's so
Barbara,
incredible to see so many people here and all of the places and beverages.
yes.
Captain and Sprite.
Beautiful. Thank you all for joining us. Yeah, across the country. Different time zones. We even got that on our call. I know Andy's in New York. I'm in LA. Lisa's in Torrance. Megan's in Vermont. Barbara is in Oregon.
Nope.
Oh,
Vancouver, Washington,
that's
which
right.
is
Oops.
right across the bridge.
Yes, Vancouver, Washington.
Yeah.
And Julia, you're with Barbara and Jacqueline. Are you in Vancouver as well?
I am 2 rooms away from Barbara. At the ready.
You have a very short commute to get to
I
her.
have a very short commute.
Well, welcome everybody, and thank you for adding information about your name, location, beverage of choice, and making sure that you're all kind of grounded with us today for the next, hour and 15 minutes or so. We're going to have some wonderful time to spend with Barbara, Lisa, and I, and I'm just going to kind of go over a little bit of what to expect today, just to let you know we are being recorded right now as well. So, welcome to Death Over Drafts. And what we're going to do with our time together is we're going to do a welcome and intro, learning more about what is Death Over Drafts about, and why are you here? Really, probably because of our special guest that we're going to be in conversation with today, Barbara. So we'll be in conversation with Barbara. We're going to have Lisa and I will have a couple prompt questions that you'll be able to answer. And it's more of a way for you to engage with us as we go into being in conversation with Barbara. So we'll have a couple prompt questions to get us started. Then we're going to play the death deck. I think many of you might already know of the death deck, but we'll have Lisa share a little bit more about that and all that it offers, all of us, and we'll get to play a little bit with Barbara here. There's also some special offers and shares among all those that are kind of co-crafting, aka hosting today. And then just kind of a closing and reflection. So I hope that sounds good to you. With that being said, We have Andon, Megan, and Jamie on hand. Andy is kind of with Reimagine, and I'll talk a little bit more about Reimagine in a second. Megan is the chat moderator. She loves to engage um, over all sorts of tools, but I know she can chat you up in and respond to you meaningfully if she can in the chat box. And Jamie was a lifesaver as well, who is on the other Zoom link, as we wanted to make sure everybody felt welcomed and be able to direct it to us with that last minute change. And since there are, I don't know how many of you right now, I think we did a pretty good job.
We're
That
at
we're kind of here together.
205 people right now,
205
Stephanie.
people. Thanks. So
Yeah.
I think we did okay. We have you muted today because there is so many of us. As I mentioned, we'll have some prompted questions and death questions. Utilize the chat box. And these are also guiding rules. Take care of yourself. We'd love to have you participate as much as you want in the chat. But if something has become too much or you have something going on, how you're feeling, or if you have to deal with family members or clients or whatever, might take care of yourself. We're going to be here. This is being recorded. We will be following up with you on this. So if you aren't able to stay with us, that's understandable. And this is a supportive environment. We're going to here to, not make this a presentation, to be in conversation with Barbara and get some real goodness from her and what she has to offer. So that's kind of what we're going to do today. So death over drafts. You might be wondering if you haven't heard about it. First of all, it's a welcoming community, and I hope you feel that coming into this room. I want everybody to feel welcomed. My background is that I'm a family caregiver consultant, care manager, and end-of-life doula. I got to this place through my work, working with the Lisa Gibbons Memory Foundation, running a free resource center for family caregivers dealing with Alzheimer's and other memory impairments, and also Compassion and Choices, where I was the medical outreach manager for the California End of Life Option Act. And from those two experiences, were the sweet spots around advanced care planning, and working in elder care and end of life. I really feel it's fluid. And so I wanted to see what opportunities there are to get engaged with others. And I know there's many models out there: death cafes, dinner parties, death over dinner, death cafes, and so many amazing things out there. And I recognize for myself, which is I'm a lean in kind of person, and a resource person and a connector, I wanted to create an environment where those that were curious, as well as those that serve some way in the elder care and end of life space, to come together. And what a better way to do that over combining my passions of craft beer and holding space on end of life conversations. So I'm all about pairings, and craft beer and holding space of end of life care conversations. And that's where death over drafts, drafting a new narrative on end of life. And I think I can say clearly that everybody here, from experiences, from personal or work experiences, I hope feel the same way in wanting to create that type of environment. One of the first times I got my first experience in order to host a Death Over Drafts was part of the Reimagine Festival in 2019. Reimagine, hey, Andy. Reimagine Festival used to be in person in San Francisco, and I hosted my first Crafting Your Narrative happy hour. After that, COVID happened and we moved kind of online. We had 13 weeks in a row. Megan was part of that team as well, along with Lisa, in moving online. Then I ended up going back and hosting Death Over Drafts in Los Angeles as well. I forgot to mention I have 2 drinks in hand. So before I continue on, I'm going to have us all do a cheers together. Take a little pause and do a cheers. Cheers. Okay, so I'm going to do this. Another perfect pairing with Death Over Drafts is our signature program, that tool that we have, which is the Death Deck. We're going to go more into that later. But Lisa, do you want to say something when we kind of started the Death Over Drafts and how the Death Deck went?
Yeah, well, first, I just want to say welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to be in community with all of you and having the opportunity to really highlight Barbara Karnes, who has been a role model for me for many years. And so I just wanted to first say I'm really excited to be here and be in community. And I think that right now, in this exact moment, community is what we need. And I'm so grateful that we can be here together for the next hour and really enjoy highlighting someone who has spent their lives doing incredible work. And so, yes, so the Death Deck, which we're going to play in a little bit, is a tool to help you talk about death, dying, illness, and grief. And we use a lot of humor, multiple choice questions. And it's worked really well for Death Over Drafts since the inception that Stephanie created. And it's a tool that helps people have conversations that they wouldn't normally have and with people that often are reluctant. So I think that Stephanie and I have had the privilege of working together for many years now. The Death Deck was created in 2018. So we've had the opportunity to do Death Over Drafts virtually, in person, after conferences. And so I'm really excited to continue this work.
Right. We're continuing to do quarterly. Thanks, Lisa. We are continuing to do quarterly Death Over Drafts on Zoom, as well as what it has become is I'm not the only one. I know that maybe has these two passions or has a passion to holding conversations in spaces that maybe don't seem, like in a back room somewhere in a library. Breweries can be noisy. But they can also be spaces for everybody to be welcomed. If you drink or not, if you go alone or you're with a group of people, it's a regular hangout for somebody. So I love the casualness nature of Death Over Drafts. So I want to do that. So where we've gone is I've launched Death Over Drafts nationally, and there's Death Over Draft crafters, aka hosts, across the country. I don't know if some are here with us today, but we have 45 crafters in 18 states plus Washington, D.C. and Canada. So it's pretty awesome to know that this has sparked, that people are buzzed to be part of this community. It's pretty organic and grassroots. And so people can take this, and I have monthly Let's Get Brewing info sessions. So you can always find out more information about that. But I just wanted to give you a sense of hopefully these are in the ground in your communities if you're interested in hosting yourself, or we do have these lovely Zooms as well. So that's that. So we are now going to move over to our time with Barbara Karnes. So if you want to spotlight her along with us right now, with Lisa and I. Hi, Barbara. Barbara, I first want to know, what are you drinking right now?
I am drinking Moscato with Fresca in it, kind of half and half.
Beautiful.
Right there.
We were calling this, Julia, before I also got my BK spritzer on. So I cheers to you at the BK spritzer.
Yes. Cheers, Barbara.
Cheers, Barbara. So I'm going to present this question. You can answer it yourself. And this is going to be a leading point to our first conversation with Barbara. So I'm going to read it right now. What got you interested in end of life care? A death experience or experiences. B, dealing with your own death anxiety. C, working in healthcare or elder care. D, family business. E, it was a calling. Or F, other. So if you want to answer that in the chat, and I'm going to head it over to Barbara right now and see, along with her wise work of being a nurse, the idea of being a writer and an advocate and a champion, if she always knew that was something she wanted to be. So I'm kind of looking to hear a little bit about your journey, Barbara. So go ahead and share.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here, for having me here. I'm excited about this. So calm down, Barbara, and talk. I graduated from nursing school in 1962, long, long time ago. And when I graduated, I thought, oh my goodness, I've made a mistake. I should have never been a nurse, should have been a social worker. So I never worked in the medical arena. Never. I got married, raised kids. And then in the 70s, there was kind of a self-awareness, get to know who you are, what you want in life. And I probably read every self-help book that was out there. And part of that reading was a book by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross on death and dying. And I thought, oh, this is very interesting. And at the same time, in England, Dame Cicely Saunders came forward and said, we have a building that we have when people are dying, and we treat them differently than the medical model. And those two women sparked something in me, and I thought, yes, this is what I want to do when I grow up. And so I took a refresher course in nursing so that I could get back into nursing. And through a set of divine order, met a person who was the volunteer coordinator of a hospice in Kansas City. And he said, we're trying to hire a nurse. And the first one ever that this particular hospice had. In fact, most hospices didn't have anything other than volunteers. And I said, well, I don't feel confident enough to be your nurse, but I'll tell you what, I'll work and volunteer 20 hours a week with whoever you hire. And in my mind, it was like, this was my training. This was on the job training. And for 5 years, I was at a primary care hospice nurse, and there wasn't any rules. We literally made it up as we went along. It was those 5 years, those patients that taught me how people die. Because our medical model concentrates on diseases, and hospice and end of life concentrates on the people that happen to have diseases. And that's what we learned when we started out, is it was about the people and how can we guide and support and comfort these people. And there wasn't any rules. So that's my story. That's how I got started. And
so when was the shift with that, with like the book, the blue book, the little blue book? Like, what was the shift for that? How was that? How?
All right. So in those early years, part of, oh, now I'm going to get on my soapbox, but here we go. End of life care is about the moment of death. Everything we do leads up to the moment of death and then gradually decreases following the death. So the moment of death was the key moment. And we didn't want people to be alone during that time. Family members or the patient, either one, because the watchers, the family that are there watching, need guidance and support. So one night I'm on call, 3:00 in the morning. If when you're on call, you don't answer the call or answer it on the phone and you say, yeah, do, and don't make a home visit, you're going to wake up in the morning and they're in the ER because families are scared and they need guidance. So roll out of bed. And this woman really, she was fine. Yes, she was dying, but not that minute. So I'm sitting in the family room and I'm explaining, here's what mom's doing, why she's doing it, here's what she's going to do next. One of the daughters was taking notes. And I thought, oh my goodness, what's wrong with this picture? She should not be having to take notes. So, and this is before computers. This is yellow legal pads, if any of you remember those. That weekend, I'm sitting on my sofa and I write out on the legal pad what I want families to know. And then I typed it up on my little manual typewriter and I started handing it out to my patients' families. And then at some point, after a couple of weeks, really, of doing that, I thought, this is so cold. This is so impersonal to give them this sheet of paper that's typed. So, weekend, sat down and wrote out what I wanted families to know in a gentle, non-medical way. And I printed it up into a booklet in large print because I thought that was also very important. And that's how Gone From My Sight came to be.
Who supported you, like with your nowadays? Like you said, like you could do anything then, like the fact that you could write something and then some people like took it on, like you had to have real, you know, drive to make that happen, to move forward. Like you said, you took your time in getting your education and seeing if this is the right fit, and then you did your legal pad. Like how did I know somebody, like how did that, like how did you make it happen that it got published? Like who was your, like who supported you in making that be your champion, as we are your champ, you're our champion now.
I took it to the director of the hospice and said, here's what I've done, and I want you to print this up and give to the patients. And he said, no, I don't want it. You can do anything you want to with it. So I went to a printer and I got it printed and I gave it to my patients and families. And one day I came home from work and my husband said, Barbara, you wouldn't believe what just happened today. We got an order, because I had in the back of the booklet, still do an order form. He said, we got an order for 50 booklets from Minnesota. And the same day, we got an order for another 50 from California. What is happening? Well, I mean, that opened the door. And I think that how it got to Minnesota and California, I think it must have been a family member that was there when mom or dad or someone they knew died. They had the booklet, they took it with them, and somehow it got into these two hospices' hands. Only thing I can figure out. So we decided, husband and I, that we would want other hospices to know this. If these two really liked it, let's let them know. So National Hospice, NPO, National Hospice Organization, before it grew and grew, had a directory, physical manual directory. And we took two, I believe, states, California and Florida. And we mailed a copy and a cover letter to every hospice in California and Florida that was in this book. And the orders started pouring in. So then we thought, so then we took state by state and with that directory mailed. And I think that's where it got its foundation among end-of-life workers. It was out there, and there was nothing else out there to guide patients and families. We all in the hospice industry were leading with our hearts, but we didn't have a lot of tools. And Gone From My Sight was one of the first tools that hospice had. We ended up going to the annual conferences, and then I got letters from family members saying, Mom died 2 months ago, and I want 5 more copies of Gone From My Sight. And I thought, wait a minute, nope, they need something on grief. And so then I wrote My Friend I Care so that there would have guidance in grief. And then following that, I was learning that more and more hospices were not with families at the moment of death.
Mm.
And when that happened, I wrote The 11th Hour, because Gone From My Sight says, here's what's going to happen. The 11th Hour says, here's what you do as family, as caregivers, while this is happening. So in my mind, those two are inseparable. They go together. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what you do while it's happening. And then anytime I saw a need, I then wrote another booklet. Pain management, wrote another booklet. Dementia, wrote another booklet. So, and the latest is food. Again, now food's addressed and Gone From My Sight and The 11th Hour. But food is such a huge, important factor in end of life and in helping caregivers and families navigate that road of going from normal eating to not even drinking water.
Yeah.
We eat to live. It's the gas we put in our car to make it run. And so I felt I needed to write another small booklet addressing that, because that's the hardest one. It's
Yeah.
not the hardest one, but it's hard.
Yeah. So
I just
I just like, go ahead, Lisa.
I was just going to chime in and just a couple things, Barbara. First of all, I think a lot of us are getting a little emotional hearing this story because, I've worked in hospice almost 20 years, and I have given out hundreds, if not thousands, of the little blue booklet, as well as 11th Hour and all of your booklets. And I'm seeing so many comments in the chat from doulas and hospice workers saying how helpful your booklets have been. So I just wanted to pause and say that that the love is pouring in. It's hard when you're talking to see how much people are responding to that, but there's so much. And personally, I've had so many families tell me how helpful your booklets have been. And as a social worker, it's so helpful to give people tools, right? I mean, all of us, we want to feel useful in these moments, and we want to make sure people feel prepared. And so you've really done that. And my second comment, and then I'm going to toss it back to you, Stephanie, is just, what this made me think of is exactly as someone had said, what a pioneer that you've been in the end of life space, in hospice, and how we are in this transition period right now. And we've had this movement, over the last let's say more than 10 years of increasing death awareness, death doulas, death tech, all of these things that some people feel like this is all new. But really, this advocacy and work has been going on for decades and decades. And we're So I just wanted to kind of note that there's a new level of interest now. There's a new way that we're trying to approach end of life care, but really we're all just benefiting from the work of early on people like
Yeah.
yourself. And so,
That actually is a good lead into this next question, but I want to also acknowledge that you're the original zine and self-publisher, Barbara. Like, you did that then, and there'll be people that are like, "Oh, wait, I'm following in Barbara's footsteps too." So like people are like, "Okay, yes, I have this." So I love that. I just want to acknowledge that as well. Okay. So here's our next question that it's kind of what drives you now? I kind of wanted to get a sense. We've heard this path, Barbara, you've been on for a long time, your advocacy, all your education efforts, all like the highs and lows of the medical system, the Medicare system, the doula showing up now. So I wanted everybody to share kind of what drives you in the chat, if you want to add one word or so. And Barbara, you'll be getting the saved chat. So over your morning conversation with Julia tomorrow morning, because I know you guys like have a hangout in the morning. If you want, you can go over these saved chats or not, and kind of revel in kind of knowing that you're supported here in community. But everybody sharing chats, kind of what drives you now, and then I'm going to pass it back to you. And this is kind of for you now, Barbara. This is your time to kind of like get on your kind of soapbox if you want, of what's kind of driving you right now.
Um, See if I can do this without crying,
Okay.
because it really saddens me. I said earlier, everything we do leads up to the moment of death to help the patient and the family have a sacred experience. Today, more and more families are alone at that sacred time. It's like our focus is that moment of death, and yet more and more families are alone to travel that path by themselves. And my drive is to get end of life workers to understand that the goal, the biggest part of the work we do is in those hours to minutes before death. Picture how many times have you gone into a hospital room and the person's dying, actively dying, and the family is standing around the outside circumference of the walls of the room, holding their hands, watching. They don't know what to do. And reading about it ahead of time and what they can do helps, but they're going to forget everything that they've read about as they watch their special person die. They need a conductor. They need someone there to guide and support that whole family and to have this sacred, memorable, positive experience. That's telling them, you can lay down on the bed if you want, hold mom's hand, talk to mom, get the dog on the bed, have everyone in the room, and let's pull up chairs and we'll put on Rod Stewart because dad loves Rod Stewart. The families need that guidance, and
Permission.
we're losing that. End of life doulas, I'm calling on you to take up the flag, take it up, because we're losing it otherwise.
Thank you. Lisa, did you have some feedback on what all that kind of heart and
I know, so
present?
much heart, so much
Such presence.
heart. I know. Of course, I want to get into the reasons why, which of course is productivity and staffing requirements that are unattainable for hospice teams. And the people, working in hospice so long, I've met so many people who want to be doing the type of work that you're talking about, Barbara. I think end of life workers, their hearts are in it. It is the system that has shifted in a lot of situations. And so, um, you know, I think what I continue to be moved by is that the people who show up, whether they're doulas, hospice, palliative care, after death care providers, there's just so much heart and incredible people that want to support at end of life. And I think it takes people like yourself to be speaking up, as well as us as a community, to say, end of life care needs more support. We need to be, the hospice workers need to be supported, and the doulas need to be, held and acknowledged and brought in, and figuring out those solutions. Because I think it doesn't, it's not the individual hospice nurse that's the issue in my mind. It's the Medicare regulations and some of the things that are in place right now, and the profits that corporations are trying to make, in the death business, that really is, the problem, in my opinion. This is
I
my
agree. I agree.
It's interesting because I'm a end of life doula, and in terms of working in partnership with hospice, and really it usually comes from family that needs the extra support. I got a call the other morning from a client, from a young woman who said, Stephanie, because we were talking off and on when her mom was, because I work, like I said, in elder care and end of life. So she was looking for housing originally. And at this point, she called me and goes, my mom's on hospice, but I want to know if she can get hydration. And I kind of had to say that's going to do more harm than good. So I was there to validate everything that the hospice and the discharge nurse, I think she needed some like permission, and somebody, another team member that was also there in addition to the team. Like I was an additional member, and so I was able to validate what they're saying is true. Moving mom back home is not the right thing for you in terms of what mom's goals and wishes are, and how she wants you to be present for her as a daughter, not as her 24/7 caregiver for the last, what was 48 hours of her life. And so I was able to show up at that time, even though it would have been nice to be earlier, but actually to gauge and then work in partnership with the hospice nurse afterwards to know that we were both walking beside this client when she went in to see her mom after she passed. Hard, devastating moment, but she felt protected and safe, and her mom knew that she was as well. So I just kind of that just happened. So it was really fresh for
Well, and
me.
you were able to guide that daughter into going in and saying goodbye to her mom.
Yes.
And, if there's no one there, no one being a doula or a hospice person, if no one's there at the moment of death, that family loses an incredible opportunity to say goodbye because they don't know that it's wonderful to, before the funeral home ever comes, each person go in and spend time alone with mom's body. We loved that body too. And to say goodbye, because it's not going to be the same at a funeral home. And yet, people don't know that they can or that there's a benefit unless there's someone who knows there to guide them.
Yeah. Thank you. I think we always talk about the practical and the profound of all these experiences, and that kind of hits both of it. So we're going to be transitioning over. Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
Or I was just going to say, I think your example is so beautiful of the ways that hospice and doulas can work together, right? You, of course, had the education to know that fluids at end of life. So this is an important piece, is we want to make sure that people working with people who are approaching end of life really have the education and can support hospice and provide, with what they're saying. And conversely, if hospice isn't providing the care that they should be, that doulas understand, or people in this role understand that what they should be receiving and helping advocate for that. Because as we know, some hospices aren't providing that kind of care and that kind of guidance. So, yeah, Stephanie, I think that was just a really wonderful example of how we can all work together.
Thank you. So we are going to move over to the death deck section of our calls. Let's put Barbara to play some gaming a little bit, play some cards. So I'm going to give Lisa a little opportunity to talk a little bit about the multiple decks she has, and then we'll go into the first question.
Yeah, I'm going to be super brief because this is not like a sales call.
Yes.
We're going to be playing the Death Deck, which is our fun, lively version. 112 questions, lots of humor. That's what we're going to be diving into with Barbara. This is used for advanced care planning with death doulas, anyone who wants to talk about death and dying. And then in addition, the EOL deck, which is what we created. And this is what I use with hospice patients. This is specifically designed for people approaching end of life. So it's a little bit more sensitive. We're not, yay!
Love it, Barbara.
We're not asking any questions that aren't related to end of life or legacy. With the death deck, we try to be more playful and more find these different avenues to start the conversation. But with the end of life deck, we're really looking to try to help people who are approaching end of life verbalize and talk through their wishes. And then in September, we launched the dementia deck, which is my newest little baby here. And this is to help people talk through the type of care and treatment they would want if they were living with dementia. It is often neglected in end-of-life planning, although we know that dementia rates, unfortunately, are rising. And so we want to help people have some of those conversations so that family members can be more prepared to make decisions later. So there is a code here. We'll put it in the chat and we'll send it out later as well to give you 20% off today. But now let's just get into playing. So we'll just show the first card and then we'll go back to our screen with the three of us talking.
Okay. And you guys can answer in the chat box too.
Yes, please participate. Okay, Barbara, when I can no longer tell you what I want to hear, please play A, my all-time favorite music playlist, B, audiobooks or inspirational words, or C, the sounds of the ocean or a river with a bedpan nearby.
Rod Stewart. Or Willie Nelson, some of my favorite music. I would love that.
Willie Nelson. Oh my gosh, Willie Nelson is a favorite in my family of origins household. We played a lot of Willie Nelson. What's your favorite Willie Nelson song? Or what's one of them?
Oh, shoot. I can't tell you the name. I can hear it in my head. And it's about love. And if I didn't tell you enough.
Oh,
I didn't tell you. And I can't think of the name of it right now. Favorite Willie Nelson.
Somebody's going to get it. Somebody's going to put it in the chat box. I know it.
Okay.
I think it might be If I Didn't Tell You. But Always on My mind.
Yes, on my mind.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was quick. Wow, we have some Willie fans in here.
That's a good one. I can hear it in my head now too. Thank you.
So Barbara, can I ask, Do your kids know your favorite music? Does your family know what kind of music you'd like to be listening to?
Oh yeah, look at those girls nodding their head up and down. Oh yes.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And what music was your husband listening to? What was his preference?
He was a Willie
Oh.
fan. Um, he was actually more country than I am.
Mm.
Emmylou, loved Emmylou, to the point that I got tired of listening to Emmylou because he played her so much. Um,
Oh, that's lovely. So, um, when you think back to your time nursing and guiding people at end of life, um, and continuing to educate and guide, um, do you have any stories or moments that come to mind about those final kind of maybe that final afternoon or those final moments with someone in terms of what was being played? Um,
oh,
like as an example, I have, there was this one family that brought in a mariachi band and into the house
cool.
in this woman's final 2 days of life, and it became this giant party. And that I'm never going to forget that celebratory moment that was taking place. So, do you have anything that has kind of stuck in your mind of,
Of
yeah.
music, I don't.
Mhm.
That's too bad because I really like your story and I wish I had some pull, but no, I don't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's okay. That's okay.
I
I
have one. I have
Oh,
one.
Stephanie has one. Good.
Um, okay, so I shared a real like end of life doula moment where I was like, yeah, Stephanie, you rocked it. Like I felt like really good about that moment, and hopefully most of them will. I was with another individual end of life, and she's into classical music and this big concerto music that we were playing. And she had a sense of humor. Don't get me wrong; she was a diva, and but she had all of her music. And we had the music and we were playing at the end of life. And she was in the hospital, which is she was fine being there. She felt safe, and her family felt safe there. Get Spotify because it kept it one at one moment it went to a commercial break. And here it is. I was trying to host a moment, a calm moment for something. And this is when like she was actively dying, but I had a moment. And once again, humor, Lisa. We talked about humor, that sometimes we need a humorous moment. But here it is. I'm like creating this space with this big lively music, this is operatic music, and a commercial goes on. So it kind of lightened it for a moment, and she would have gotten a kick out of it. But I was kind of mortified at that moment. That wasn't a very good end of life doula on top of my game moment. So
I really hope that the commercial was for something like erectile dysfunction or something.
yes.
That would have really
Yeah.
impacted the vibe
Yeah. Yeah.
there. Yeah,
So that was kind of a moment. All right, we're gonna go on
yeah,
to the next question.
yeah. Let me just say
Oh,
one last thing.
yes.
I have had instances where I've been encouraging the family to play music or put something on TV because they're all just kind of standing around staring at this person. Um, and of course, we're giving them other activities they can do, but it's so quiet. And because I like music and I like sounds and I like liveliness, um, I tend to, ask people what they think
Yes.
about adding some of that. And some families tell me, no, she preferred quiet. And if we put music or TV on, this would be upsetting to her. And so, of course, with all of our death questions, you can say D, none of the above. I don't want any noise. I want it to be quiet. I want it to be peaceful, that sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
Can I add
okay.
Thank you.
something in
Yeah.
there?
Yes, Steph.
Yes.
So when my dad was dying, I created a playlist of all of his songs. So for those of you that don't know, my dad is Barbara's husband. And I created this playlist of songs that he'd listened to my whole lifetime. And then I played it for hours and hours over and over again. And then also the whole family got to hear it. And I shared it with everybody so we could go back and listened to it again and it also became part of the grieving process of just hearing the music and remembering that moment that we all shared together.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I think I know we have a lot of doulas and we have end of life professionals here, of course, and everyone knows this, but playlists are incredible. I have a When I Die playlist. I think a lot of us do, and but encouraging other people to make those lists, I think, is really helpful to create those moments. So thank you, Jackie.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to our next question.
Ooh, this one I've been very curious how you're going to answer, Barbara. Growing up, my family dealt with death, A, by talking openly, sharing feelings, stories, and dark humor. B, in a no nonsense sort of way. Shit happens, you move on. Or C, keep it all bottled up and avoiding any discussion. Oh, why is my hand raised? Sorry, guys. I talk with my hands and my Zoom doesn't like it. So, what do you think, Barbara?
I would have to go to C, and I will tell you a story which will show you exactly how my family dealt with death. I was 14 years old. My grandfather died. I didn't even know he was sick. I get up to go to school in the morning, and my mother says, "By the way, Grandpa died last night." And off I go to school. So at school, I'm thinking, and I come home and I said, what's the plan? Is there a visitation? What's happens? Well, you're not old enough to go to the funeral. And I throw this 14-year-old fit. And finally, she says, well, all right, I will take you to the funeral home and you can see him there, but you can't go to the funeral. It'll be too hard. So she takes me to this Victorian shaped home that's turned into a funeral home. And because we weren't expected, they sent us up the back stairs that was only lit by little candlelight bulbs into this room where it was at some point probably someone's bedroom. And there in the casket, I could see his head, and there was just a candle, a real candle going. Need I tell you, I didn't even go into the room. I stayed at the door. And what I learned at that moment is if this was safe for me to go and see, then I certainly do not want to go to a funeral. That would just be because this was awful. And I carried that with me for a long, long time. And it makes me wonder, how in the world did I get from there to working in end of life? And it was in the 70s, and that exploration of who I am, what life is about, that growth period is what got me past that terror of an experience.
Yeah. That's unfortunately, I think in in a lot of situations, times have changed, in terms of more children and teenagers coming to funerals and celebration of life and stuff. But there is still a lot of protecting, or this idea of protecting children from death, that they're too young, that it's too upsetting. And what we know based on research is that it's scarier for kids to not actually be part of it. And so, um, and I'm just picturing you, you know, just wanting this moment with your grandpa, and then they created the most scary scene that they could have in a dimly lit back alley
Yeah.
funeral home.
Yeah.
That yeah, instead of it just being in community in grieving with the rest of your family.
Well, and it also shows that all too often our parents, or as parents, our best intentions
Mhm,
can really cause a lot of harm.
mhm.
She
Yeah,
didn't mean to scare me. She was protecting me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of protection in end of life, right? We protect, patients tell me, don't tell my daughter I'm dying. You know, she's going to be upset if she knows, but I know. And then the daughter will tell me, I know mom's approaching the end, but don't tell her, I don't want her to get too sad, right? We protect people we love and think that that is helpful. But it isn't always, and perhaps sometimes, yeah, yeah.
Well, and it's our job as end of life workers and educators is to guide the communication between each other.
Mhm,
Um, that's part of our role is to
mhm,
facilitate communication,
mhm,
to facilitate a conversation, all those things that nobody wants to deal with.
yeah,
Our job is to help them deal with it.
mhm, mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's hard. It's hard for, especially when adults are struggling emotionally, and then they have their kids to try to be supporting through the dying process of this person as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And who do they, in the normal sense, who do they go to for guidance? Sometimes they don't, if it's faith-based or medical or, therapists, like who really takes the lead, I guess, in this experience. And
Mhm,
I think we're kind of coming around to that. It's how does a family, it's a cultural phenomenon, right? Of how our families talk about it and culturally. So I think we're starting to own it again in certain cultures.
mhm, mhm,
Well, and if you think about the circle that end of life has come, it used to be that grandma died upstairs in the upstairs bedroom, and we were all there and we supported her. This is where people died, was in their home upstairs. And then hospitals came into the picture. This medical model grew, and people started dying in the hospital alone at the end of the hall. And then nursing facilities came into play. And again, grandma died alone at the end of the hall.
mhm,
And now we're coming full circle. Grandma always wanted to be at home, but now we are getting her at home.
mhm,
And I love that circle that we've come and recognized that that's where grandma needs to be, is at
mhm,
home.
mhm.
And for the family too, like you're saying,
Yes.
as you as a young girl, knowing this is a space that you were knowing that was important to you, and then it presented in a way that didn't resonate, that wasn't really supportive.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. All
All
right,
right.
Lisa, we're gonna go on to our next question here.
Yep. Okay, Barbara, I've been curious about this one too. Which of these eco-friendly burial options would you consider for your remains? A, recomposition, body composting, uh, um, sorry, body composting. B, aquamation, cremated by water. And C, green burial, biodegradable caskets, shrouds, containers, or urns, no embalming. So, what do you
Oh,
think?
well, that that's hard. I because in my mind it's like just cremate my body and throw the ashes uh, in my special place and all will be good. So of those three, I would have to choose the green burial. Yeah, let's do it with biodegradable everything.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever attended a green burial?
I have not.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
I know nothing, but from what I have read about it, you really can take your creativeness and make this something unique and special and meaningful. Probably more so than picking out a coffin and what color it is. And but that's just me.
Mm-hmm. What about a home funeral? Have you ever attended a home funeral?
I would love that. Wasn't one of your options.
It wasn't. I'm going with D. How about this?
I would take that in a minute.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story. My husband died, 2 years ago? And the Karnes family have a tradition, and that is when anyone leaves our home, we stand on the front porch and we give them what we call the Karnes send off. And that's waving until they're out of sight. So Jack died at home and he was going to be cremated. His body was going to be cremated. And so all the family was here supporting him during this time. And we all stood on the front porch and we gave him the Karnes send off as the station wagon that his body was in went down the road and around the corner. And to me, that was our funeral. That was our send off. Now, as I say this, the feedback that I've gotten has taught me something. And that feedback is there were friends that were not there when he died that felt really cheated, that they didn't have an opportunity to see him, his body, and to say goodbye, that they didn't have any closure. And that has given me food for thought.
So that was actually the your family send off was what you considered to be his funeral or his.
Yes.
I see. Yeah, so it was a very intimate experience.
It was very special.
I just want to invite Julia and Jackie. Do you want to share anything about what Barbara has shared about that moment, or
I could speak to that. That for me, that send off at the end was closure, and the whole. We had stayed up with him all through the night. All of us were in there with him, and when he died the next morning, we each had time alone with him to sit with him, be with him, and then after he died again, each of us went in one at a time and had our time. And we were all in there as a group together and talked and told stories and listened to the songs together. And at that moment of death, when he died, and he loved animals, and he especially loved birds and geese. And all of these geese came in and landed right outside the window. And as he took his last breath, they all shot up. And it was this loud gushing of geese. And we all just kind of looked around, and it was obvious that he was not in his body anymore. And it just, for all of us, he had left with the geese. It was so beautiful and sacred. That moment, the time, it was just a moment in time that was so precious. And it all happened. And there was a large group of us. There were a lot of us there. And so after we had all that time together and then we did the final goodbye, it felt so complete.
Yeah. That's That's so beautiful. I just love the um, years ago when I first started working in end of life care, I all the science stuff, and I was like, these are coincidences. This is just, people want to believe, and so they're doing these things. And um, but after a few years of hearing so many stories like that, Jackie, and experiencing my own signs from beyond that, I just what a beautiful moment, and I, I can I can understand why your family chose that felt complete. I mean, and yeah, yeah,
And as my mom said, later we found out that there were people who that weren't there, that didn't get to say goodbye.
yeah,
And so we've had little gatherings on his birthday and his death day. And I have another person to add to the list for our next one that I want to invite and bring into that. It's never too late to
Yes.
get closure and to say goodbye, to remember together and to say goodbye again and again.
yeah.
Thank you.
That's the perfect. I don't want to say solution because it wasn't actually a problem, but I think that that's a beautiful way to invite others to grieve together, by hosting those memory or somewhat memorials, or gatherings in honor of
Mhm.
Jack, right? Yeah. Oh, Barbara, what a beautiful family you have.
Oh, I know. I am so blessed. So blessed.
And this is the BK team as well. Yeah.
Yes,
Actually,
it
that's
is.
that's actually a great segue. Did you do that intentionally, Lisa? That they are.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, because it is
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of a family business what you've created. I mean, your husband taking the orders, right? When you first getting started, and now too, I know your grandson working as part of your team now too.
Right.
So it is like death, like you really changed the map for yourself, for your own family, your own legacy of how
Yes.
you, and I think a lot of people in our work in this space, the feeling okay talking about death and dying with the young and them embracing it and kind of making it a family business or not,
Mhm.
or making people comfortable with it and being okay talking about death and dying or how was your day at work if you're a hospice nurse or so on. So Barbara, I'm going to take you off spotlight right now because we're going to go into some of the offerings that, oh, actually stay on for this next offering. Julia and Jackie, I wanted you to kind of we one of the things, so we're moving into our transition because we have a few minutes left. We have some offerings, and we're going to also still continue to end with Barbara here. Um, but one of the beautiful things, like we said, Barbara didn't stop writing or wanting to be of support or being an advocate and an educator, right? Julia or Jackie, did you want to share at all about this like amazing offer that you guys are doing for those that are part of the DoD? It's like a DoD special offer.
So we have the approaching death
Oh, let
support.
me oh let me share it. I thought I shared it. Sorry. Let me get it on screen. There you go. How's that?
Yeah, it's right there. So the approaching death support kit, we're offering 24% off as a special offer for anybody that's on the call. And it's live on the site. I'll put the link in the chat. And it's a compilation of Barbara's essential offerings and resources for somebody who is supporting their family or their loved one through the dying process. And it has the 7 booklets along with By Your Side, which is a guidebook, and yeah, it's all of her favorites in there.
All right. Well, thank you so much for offering that. I think once again, if it's in our own kit or ones that we want to share with others, it's so vital to have. So thank you for bringing that DoD kind of special approaching death offer. I also want to share that with death overdraft. So all that we're doing here with Barbara and so appreciative of the time, and we're going to end with Barbara again here as well. If you guys like what you were part of here with death overdrafts, the quarterly Zooms are so special where we invite conversations with leaders, thought leaders, in this. And Barbara, I thank you for always being an educator, but also sharing your own personal stories and being, strong and vulnerable at the same time. And I think that's what kind of happens at some of our death overdrafts with individuals, and doing it in a way that where everybody's welcome, like a brewery, that the kind of threshold is low to kind of bring in your friend, or if you work in the community, a partner or a neighbor, to kind of to participate. So we have Let's Get Brewing info sessions, and then as you can see here, there's death overdrafts across the country. So I welcome and invite you to participate in live ones with others that will hold this kind of sacred space, that as educators and sharing of resources, a lot of them being BK resources, as well. I also wanted to share that I've just hot off the press swag. If you guys are interested in some swag, I got some swag for you, some journals to write in, of course, a pint glass and a tote bag for all your books that you need to bring around with you. I saw Catherine on here with the Silent Book Club of Death, that the idea of, sharing our resources and support for others. And then I wanted to share, have Andy have a sense to, before we wrap up together with Barbara, I wanted to give,
Oh,
go ahead.
Stephanie, do you have we were going to use your link for the death overdrafts.
Yes, it's in there.
It's
Megan has it.
In the chat. Okay.
Yeah. So the percentage off with the death decks and all the decks,
Okay.
as well. And then before we close with Barbara, I wanted to give Andy with Reimagine an opportunity, because they continue to do amazing work with and for end of life care professionals and the general community on post-traumatic growth and grieving and mortality. So Andy, I wanted to give you an opportunity to share this as well.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you to Barbara and the Karnes family. I was so moved by this conversation. I'm so grateful that you included us. I'll try to be as quick as I can, but over the years, one piece of feedback we've received at Reimagine is that having an experience like this with Barbara, people want to stay connected and they want to keep exploring these topics together. So we want to invite all of you to the Reimagine Growth Journey platform. This is a space we've built for just that. It's technology for healing and growth instead of the crap that most of you experience on social media these days. It's rooted in this body of psychological research called post-traumatic growth. Some of you may be familiar with that. On the platform, you get to take these growth journeys curated from these amazing experts. You share your own journey from grief to growth. You get to control what you share, how much you share, as little as you like. These could be reflections, dreams, actions. And on the site, you offer and receive support by holding space, which is a unique feature we have that invites you to slow down, show up, and share your intentions. So, like I said, we're beta testing this platform. Because you're here today, you're part of this community at Reimagine now. You can join the platform through a self-guided pathway called Reimagine Life's Challenges. Thank you, Megan, for posting that in the chat. It serves as an entry point to the site. We're offering this for free. As early participants, your presence, your voice, your feedback will help shape this for others. So please click on that link. We'll send out a follow-up email on Monday separately from Death Over Drafts with more information. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Great. And as we wrap up, Barbara, thank you. Thank you for. I'm just speechless. I was going to have everybody put just one word on how they're feeling right now. I kind of am curious about your one word. You're going to be the last word right now. So I want to thank you. I want to offer you our Lisa as well, that it's been a pleasure spending this time time with you. So thank you. If you have a word or last thoughts for us.
I would say communication, that there is so much misinformation in the world, that we need to be able to talk to each other and talk about the challenging and the difficult things as well as the good. So communication.
You're good at that.
Thank you.
Oh, Barbara, I just want to tell you, my thumb is up in my chat again, or I just want to tell you what an honor this is to be in community with you, and to be able to learn more about your journey and hear your inspiring words. And I think that, again, it feels good to be in your company and be reminded of where hospice and end of life work really began, and how we can work together to try to improve where we are today. So thank you for being here with us tonight.
Well, thank you for the good work that you all are doing to support and to guide others in this mission of taking care of the dying. I mean, I suppose that sounds simplistic, but really, that's what we're about, is to take care of the dying in a compassionate, love-filled manner. And we've got the knowledge to do that.
Hmm. That feels like the perfect ending, doesn't it, Steph? Yeah.
How about
Yeah.
a final Karnes send-off? Can we all wave?
Oh, yes. Stephanie, let's stop sharing for a second.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That was such a great idea.
Love that.
Bye.